Here's what triggers speed for me, and really physically for most everybody, baseball players, tennis players, all of them.
That was like a 70% shot.
Okay, that's what I knew as a kid. Because of all the sports, I knew what it felt like to hit something, and I knew what this was supposed to do. So when I came to golf, this whole baseball thing and tennis and bowling, all these sports where this arm lined up with whatever I was doing, when I came to golf, when I hit it, this arm just got right there because it was boom. That was that impact. Well, my body wasn't going to do something crazy that was going to get in the way of this, because that's what I was trying to do. So this did whatever it had to do to let me do it.
Last shot, Mike.
Okay.
Just going to try to pour on a little bit of speed here. Getting greedy. So as the main thing to start producing more power is to feel more of what, Mike? Rather than like left arm pulling the grip off, or
it may be a little more swing. And then here's where my speed. Take hold of this. Here's what triggers speed for me, and really physically for most everybody, baseball players, tennis players, all of them. I go back, same length of swing, everything's the same right to here. If I want to hit it further, once I get right here and force is in my left foot, all this left leg does is, as the club's going through the ball, this left leg pushes my left hip straight back and out of the way harder. And when it pushes it out of the way harder, that's what accelerates the club. So this is my gas pedal here. It has nothing to do with what I do with my hands and arms. It's how my left leg pushes my left hip out of the way.
Okay,
so I time the weight of the club through the ball. Exactly.
I think that was exactly it. Okay.
I time the weight of the club through the ball with the push away with my left leg, pushing my left hip out of the way. I don't do anything. That's killed.
Yeah, that's good.
So speed is not about faster backswing, faster change of directions. It's about getting the club in the right arc and then using this to push back away, which is what accelerates the club. It's the snap of the towel. If you slide on it, or if you twist your hips early, it's not doing anything to the force in the club.
All right, this is something we talked about recently on the channel, putting together this right arm concept with I've done a couple videos with the foremost expert in ground forces, the guy that head scientist for Swing Catalyst, this ground force thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, talk about, is it kind of, because this is kind of how I feel, is it when I've started to see, like, practice on that thing and see the numbers go up, talk about like force coupling, as far as this is almost, it's going, but it's almost stopping you, and this, like, these two things work together. So I'm only a right arm here, and you guys can't see my left leg, but that hip is going back as this is accelerating forward, and those two things are kind of like being on the opposite ends of something like this. And
that's exactly what it's doing. That's exactly what it is. So you get back here and you start down and you get right here. So force goes right foot, left foot. Now once force hits your left foot, now as the club's coming down, as the club is coming down this way out into the arc of the ball, this left leg is pushing this left hip out of the way, and those two offsetting forces, the club going that way and this going back, that's what causes the acceleration.
So go to the moment where you're just about to pour it all on.
Where I'm just
right there.
Right there.
So Mike's talking about, so the opposition of this force down, which is forcing this up, and this force going that way, those two things work together to really create a ton of speed. It's not active body twisting.
No.
You're right.
I don't even
really
feel, I don't even feel my body twist. See, all I feel is, and it's not up here. This is the other thing that I argue with a lot of these guys. It's not vertical force.
Yeah.
Because the club is swinging out on an inclined plane. So when I'm coming down, this leg is pushing this hip back on a parallel force vector. So, but I don't feel my shoulders unwind. I don't feel my hips turn. What I feel is the club gets right here, and it feels like the club's going out, and this hip is getting pushed back.
If anything, it's shear force into the ground.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Okay, and final thing that I never hear you talk about, I asked you last year, but I think it's so important, is whenever I hear about people on the range giving other people lessons, like their buddies giving other people lessons, if you could go on any range in America or Europe or Japan and get a dime for every time somebody says rotation to their buddy, you need more rotation, you're not rotating, God, you would be rich. And this idea of rotation, especially from the top in transition, like I see the worst over the top spin out, loss of power. It's this idea of rotation seems so misunderstood. How do you see the role of rotation?
Well, first of all, rotation is an effect, not a cause. If you go back and you try to physically make your body rotate, see, it doesn't really understand rotation. It understands straight line forces. Mm-hmm. So when I go back, all I'm really doing is as the club goes back, my right leg pushes my right hip out of the way. And when I start down, my left leg pushes my left hip out of the way.
So the rotation is happening.
So all I'm doing is pushing this hip back, pushing this hip back. There's no pressure on my lower back. If I try to restrict my hips and I try to force my body to unwind, then physiologically and as an athlete, that's not how you do it. So if you just push your right hip out of the way and then push your left hip out of the way, it's not rotation, feeling. You don't feel rotation. They just asked Tiger in a video. Tiger did a video on YouTube, and they asked him, so what do you work on in your lower body?
Right.
And here's what he said. He goes, well, I get set up, and on my backswing, I try to get my right hip as deep as I can get it. That was the word he used. I try to get it as deep as I can get it. And on my follow-through, I try to get my left hip as deep as I can get it. He said nothing about turn.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, he doesn't say like, hey, I try to get my tailbone facing the target, and then I try to,
try to get my back to the target, hold my shoulders back, clear my hips.
He's using straight line terms.
He's using straight line forces, which, by the way, is how the universe works. Everything works in straight lines. So there's vertical force, there's lateral force, and there's horizontal.
Yeah, even the Earth going around the sun, it's one.
Straight,
it's the same thing as dropping a stone straight.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. So the more things you can feel in straight line forces, the better off you are. So when you swing back, the club's going, you push your right hip straight back, and then when you come down, your force goes into your left, you push your left hip back. So all you're doing is you're pushing your hips out of the way.
Oh, now I'm slapping it.
Yeah, now somebody says, wow, you're really spinning your hips fast. I asked Jack about his hips.
Yeah.
And he goes, I said, so when you come down, you've always been known to have a lot of great legs and a lot of good rotation with your lower body. He says, I've never tried to rotate my hips in my life. I went, well, what do you mean? He says, well, on the backswing, all I try to do, here's what his terms, he says, I get set up, and all I try to do is get my right hip as far out of the way as I can.
Okay.
And then he says, on the downswing, I just take the club and I run the club into the back of the ball, and I let the weight of the club pull me through into the follow-through. I said, well, what about clearing your hips on the follow-through? He goes, I just told you I've never tried to turn my hips. So why'd you ask me that question? I said, well, but your hips move. He says, well, they may move, but I don't try to move them. So he's not trying to unwind his hips.
Right.
But he did feel himself, his left side stabilize. He felt it. That's why he lifted his heel. That kept his hips level. And as soon as he slammed that foot down, his left leg felt like it was stable, that he could use it to hit with.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing.
Yeah, it's almost like somebody disagreed with me about this, but I don't know. I had this feeling when I was really hitting it well at one point, where the harder I went with my right arm, and in concert, at the same time, the harder I braced with my left leg through impact, that was really pouring it on.
Well, your left leg pushes your left hip back as the club goes through the ball. Then what that does, if you time those two forces, then the weight of the club going through the ball, the circles, the forces in your swing match up through the ball. Oh. If all of a sudden your hips go early and the club goes second, you can create a lot of speed that way, but those forces aren't matching and you get a lot of wobble in the club. If all of a sudden those circles start to match and those forces are added at the right time, it takes less effort, it's more efficient, more distance, and easier to duplicate. Other than that, there's no reason to do it.
Thanks for watching, everybody. This is part of a longer series that I did with Mike. That video there was actually supposed to be, you can see from the way I'm wearing the suit, supposed to be about the right arm, but then Mike started talking about the lower body, so I wanted to put this as a separate segment about the lower body. But in doing this, I realized that actually the suit, rather than making it disappear certain parts of your body, I think next time I do it, I'm going to use it in a way with special tape and other things to make it illuminate certain parts of the body even brighter. If you look in the description of this video, you'll see a link to the scientific study I based a lot of these videos on that shows that if you highlight certain areas of the golf swing while you're hearing the instruction, then it makes people learn what is being presented in the video much faster than if they then a control group, so to speak, or a group that saw a video without anything highlighted. So it works. It's been proven. Thanks a lot. If you guys want to see the what does the right arm do in the golf swing video, click the subscribe button. You got to be subscribed to see that, because I'm gonna at first I'm gonna put that out just for subscribers. You'll see a little notification if you click the bell, the notification bell, that it's up, and then it'll immediately go unlisted, so all you guys will be able to see it, but it just won't be kind of publicly searchable at first, and then I'm going to release it to everybody. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.